this life-changing meal prep hack actually cut our grocery bill in half. And that is by using what I call sitting foods. So these are foods that are kind of just sitting in your pantry and you don't really know what to do with them. They're taking up space. You don't want to throw them out because you don't want to waste that food, but they're not really being used for anything. So this hack actually puts a purpose to foods that aren't being used so that you can be useful and be most efficient in your meal prepping schedule. The first step to doing this hack is to find that ingredient. This can be any ingredient. It can be used to make any dish, whether it's an entree or a side or a dessert, any kind of dish. Just find that ingredient that's really just been sitting in your pantry. The next thing that you're going to do is to figure out what you are going to make with that ingredient. So you may not know what you were going to make from the beginning, and that is completely okay. If you don't know what you're going to make, do a little Google search. I love to do easy blank recipes. So if I have an ingredient, I will put easy, the ingredient recipe. I've said it in a past video. I had this whole pack of these crepe egg white things. I literally just came back from a trip, so there isn't a lot of food in the house. The first thing I did was look in the fridge to see what we do have and then make something from that. Pini wraps, which I actually bought from Costco a while ago for another recipe that I never ended up using. So I looked up a recipe using the crepinis. I ended up creating this lasagna with the crepes instead of like noodles, and that is what I'm making today. It is not glamorous. It just used all of the things that are in my fridge already in my kitchen, so I didn't have to go buy anything, and that's dinner. And the reason I put easy recipe in that search is because I'm primarily looking for recipes that use the least amount of ingredients, and that's only because I want to reduce how many ingredients I'm buying out in the store. Otherwise, if I pick a recipe that has a bunch of ingredients that I'm going out to buy in the store, usually probably not going to use all of them up, and they're going to end up sitting in my pantry, and then we'll just be in this whole cycle of using these sitting foods. The next step you're going to need to do is to figure out what ingredients you need for that recipe. So when I find that ingredient, when I find that recipe, the first thing I'm going to do, instead of make a list of foods I need to go buy out in the store, I'm gonna go look through my pantry. I'm gonna go look through my fridge to see what I already have. Not only am I going to try and look for what I already have, I'm gonna see if there are ingredients in my kitchen that could be used as a substitute for ingredients that are in that recipe. So for example, I was explaining how I was making that egg crepe lasagna. Most lasagnas call for something like ricotta cheese or even cottage cheese. I don't often keep like ricotta cheese or ingredients that are specific to one recipe. I like to focus on getting ingredients that can be used in a lot of things. So I made that whole egg white crepe lasagna thing just by using ingredients I had. So what I use instead of using the ricotta cheese is I almost always have a thing of non-fat Greek yogurt in my fridge, and so I just use that instead. That actually made it a little bit more healthy, and I also wasn't purchasing another ingredient that could potentially sit in my fridge. Once you figure out what ingredients you already have, what ingredients you can use to substitute for ingredients in that recipe, now is the time to make that list for ingredients that you would need to go buy at the store. At this point, if my sitting ingredient, if that ingredient that I'm starting with is an ingredient that is non-perishable or could wait a little bit longer to be used, I will try and wait and buy the rest of those ingredients for when they go on sale so that I can kind of plan and obviously save more money and save as much money as I can in our meal planning schedule. And then the next thing I would do after that is incorporate that dish into my meal planning schedule for the next week or whenever I'm planning my meals for next. So if it's a dessert dish, then I'm going to plan when that dessert is going to be made, what days that's going to be eaten, and by what day I need to have all of those ingredients by. And then the next step is to head to the store. Actually, no, it's not. No, it's not. Instead of going to the store, I'm going to challenge you guys to actually use mobile order for your groceries. Most grocery stores have a great grocery pickup program, and that is since COVID happened and a lot of people weren't going into stores, which just means you can order groceries on your phone. Sometimes grocery stores will do it for free. Sometimes they will charge a fee, or sometimes if you hit like a minimum threshold, they will do it for free. So I know Walmart, you have to spend $35 to get that free grocery pickup, which I always think is worth it. I always spend at least $35 at Walmart. Add all of those ingredients that you need to your phone right then and there. You can do it from your couch. This is great if you are a mom, if you're a busy person, you can do it all from your phone. You could literally do it while you were going to the bathroom. bathroom if you really wanted to. And the great thing about ordering it from your phone is not only are you going to save time because you're not going in and out of the aisles trying to look for what you need, you're also going to be able to see what your total is for that grocery run. So if you know that your budget for that month or that week or whatever is $100 or $125, you know that that total cannot go over that amount. Whereas it's really easy in the store to just throw things in your cart because you're seeing so many things. There's a lot of marketing. You really don't think about the total price of what everything in your cart costs, because unless you have a calculator with you and you're calculating everything, but your cart total tells you exactly how much you are going to be spending for that trip. I absolutely love that I can just roll up to a grocery store and tell them that I'm there and they bring all of the groceries out for me. Like, there is something about being in a grocery store that just really stresses me out sometimes because all the people there, the carts, there's just a lot of things going on. Much prefer staying in my car and having somebody else bring out my groceries. But what is great about using these sitting ingredients is that it's basically like getting food for spending $0, because all of that food, like, yes, you already had it, and yes, at one point you paid for it, but up until now there was no use for those products. So by you putting a use to that product, you are basically getting that product for free. So let's do a little bit of a recap. So the first thing you're going to do is find that sitting ingredient, whatever ingredient that is just sitting in your pantry or your fridge that you want to use up. The second thing you're going to do is figure out what you're going to make. If you already know what you're going to make, great. If you don't know what you're going to make, do a little Google search online to figure out what you're going to make with a minimal amount of ingredients so that you don't have to go buy a bunch of ingredients at the store, and that's going to save you money. The third thing you're going to do is then figure out what other ingredients you need for that recipe, whether those are ingredients that you already have, ingredients that you can substitute for that are in your kitchen that you can substitute for ingredients that the recipe calls for, or ingredients that you need to go buy from the store. The fourth thing you're going to do is incorporate that dish into your meal plan for that next week. It's really important to plan when that dish is going to be made, because then you know it's going to be eaten and it's not going to be wasted. The fifth thing you're going to do is then order online. You're going to order those groceries online, go pick them up from the store, save your time, save your wallet by making sure that that total is not over your budget for that trip. And then the last thing you're going to do is go head to the store for that pickup. Using this strategy, I've learned a couple of things. One of the things that I highly recommend is to keep all of your sitting foods, all of your sitting ingredients in one place in your kitchen. And that includes in your fridge. So if you have ingredients in your fridge that have just been sitting that need to go, I recommend just keeping a little bin in your fridge, and every time you come by an ingredient that is a sitting ingredient that doesn't have a use, throw it in that bin so that you know where everything is. Same goes in your pantry. When you are cooking, if you see an ingredient that hasn't really been used in a while, grab that ingredient, put it all in one area. That way, all of those little ingredients aren't being lost in your pantry. I think sometimes when something I'm not using a lot is with other things that I do use a lot, it kind of gets lost in the mess of my pantry. But by separating it out and putting it in a different place, I can always look into that area and know what I have to use. I think it takes a lot of time and a lot of work to go through my pantry every week and know what sitting ingredients I have and what things I could possibly use. If I have everything in one area, I know exactly what's there. I can do a quick look at it and then pull something out and start figuring out what I'm going to make with that ingredient. It's really quick, because then throughout the week, if I then come across an ingredient that is sitting or I notice hasn't been used or doesn't have a use, I can very quickly just grab it and toss it in that bin. It saves me a ton of time. I don't have to keep going through my pantry every week to know what I have to use up. My goal is ultimately to obviously use up all of those sitting ingredients. There's always some ingredients in your pantry that are just sitting, and my goal is to ultimately use at least one ingredient up per week and incorporate it into at least one of our dishes. I personally absolutely hate scanning through weekly ads at grocery stores, so I primarily do our shopping at one of three stores, either Aldi, Walmart, or Costco. Those three stores combined have pretty much everything I need for meal planning for us, and I know that generally all of those grocery stores have low prices overall, even though sometimes there may be cheaper things other places, but I do try to only go to one grocery store per week, and that's only because I really don't like to spend a lot of time at the grocery store. If you haven't figured out already, I don't love to spend a ton of time at the grocery store. So if I know I'm going to Aldi and this is the only time I'm going to be going to Aldi for the next 2 weeks, then I will buy everything I need at Aldi for the next 2 weeks. And that brings me to my next tip, is to stock up on sale items that you know you're going to use even if they are not on your grocery list. A perfect example of that is last week at Costco, Rao's pasta sauce, which is our absolute favorite pasta sauce. It's pretty pretty much the only one we will eat, was on sale at Costco. And I know we go through about 1 jar of Rouse from Costco a week. And so since it was on sale at that point, I stocked up. I bought the max I could buy, which was 5 packs. So now we have 10 jars of Rouse in our pantry. But the reason I did that is because I know I'm going to meal plan and I know I'm going to use those ingredients in the future. And so I'm not wasting money, even though I'm stocking up and I'm spending more in that one trip. I'm getting what I'm going to be using for a lot cheaper and stocking up on it at that time. So if you know that there is an ingredient that you use a lot and it goes on sale and you can stock up on it, you have the money to do so, go ahead and do so, but always make sure that you are meal planning and that you know that you are going to be using those ingredients, because I mean, if you buy a bunch of something that you know you use a lot of, but you don't plan to use them, then that food can go into waste and then you waste money. So it really only works if you do meal plan. And I do think that this whole strategy of using those sitting foods is a great place to start to save some money on that grocery bill. This video right here is 10 of my grocery shopping hacks. I think you will really enjoy that video. If you enjoyed this video, thank you guys so much for subscribing and hitting the like button down below. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.